Fuel trucks moving in, keep it tight!
Weapons locked! Secure the pylon now!
You are cleared for immediate departure.
JF-17. Thunder, the affordable fighter jet. Changing modern warfare. Nobody expected this aircraft to matter. Not the Americans, not the Russians, not even some of the generals who approved it. Because on paper, it looked impossible. A lightweight fighter, built on a shrinking budget. Designed by countries the military world was rarely treated as equals. It wasn't supposed to compete with billion-dollar Western machines. It definitely wasn't supposed to survive modern air warfare. And yet, slowly, quietly, this aircraft started appearing everywhere. Border conflicts, arms expos, combat exercises, strategic briefings. Then came the moment that changed the conversation completely. Suddenly, analysts who used to laugh at it were forced to study it. Because this wasn't just another cheap fighter jet anymore. It was something much more dangerous. It was proof. Proof that modern air power was changing. And the countries that understood that first might control the future. The problem. To understand why this aircraft mattered, you have to go back to a time when one country realized something terrifying. Its air force was becoming obsolete. Fast. Its fleet was aging. Some aircraft were holdovers from another era entirely. Maintenance costs were exploding. Replacement parts were difficult to secure. And worst of all, foreign suppliers could turn off the pipeline whenever politics changed. That was the real danger. Not enemy aircraft. Dependence. Every sanction became a threat. Every diplomatic crisis became a vulnerability. Military planners understood the nightmare scenario. What happens if war begins and your air force depends on someone else's permission to function? That question changed everything. Because now the mission wasn't just building a fighter, it was building independence. And independence is expensive, especially for countries that aren't supposed to dominate aerospace technology. At the time, many experts believed advanced fighter programs belonged to only a handful of nations: the United States, Russia, a few European powers. Everyone else was expected to buy, not compete. But behind closed doors, a different idea was forming. What if a fighter didn't need to be perfect? What if it only needed to be good enough, in large enough numbers, at the right price? That idea would become the foundation of everything that followed. The dismissed project. In the beginning, almost nobody paid attention. The project looked like another modest regional aircraft program, the kind that appears briefly, then disappears into obscurity. Critics called it outdated, underpowered derivative too ambitious for its budget. Some compared it to older Cold War fighters. Others dismissed it as a political symbol rather than a real combat platform. But while the outside world focused on prestige aircraft worth hundreds of millions of dollars, the engineers working on this project focused on something else entirely: efficiency. Every design decision reflected that goal. Simpler maintenance, lower operating cost, rapid production, flexible weapons integration. The aircraft wasn't trying to dominate every category. It was trying to survive modern war economically. And that distinction mattered, because wars are not won by brochures. They're won by sustainability. The deeper military planners looked, the more uncomfortable the math became. One elite fighter might outperform it individually, but what if the cheaper aircraft could be deployed in greater numbers? What if maintenance crews could turn them around faster? What if smaller nations suddenly gained access to capabilities once reserved for major powers? That was the hidden threat. Not superiority. Accessibility. The partnership that changed the game. Then came the turning point. A strategic partnership that completely altered the project's future. Because suddenly this wasn't just a struggling aircraft program anymore. Now it had industrial backing, engineering depth, manufacturing scale, and geopolitical protection. The collaboration shocked a lot of observers. One side brought urgency, the other brought industrial momentum. Together, they started building something the global defense market had underestimated: a modern combat aircraft that didn't rely on Western approval. That idea carried enormous geopolitical consequences, especially for nations tired of export restrictions and political pressure. The aircraft became more than hardware. It became an alternative. And alternatives are dangerous in global power systems, because once countries realize they have options, leverage disappears. The real test. But none of the marketing mattered. Not really. Military aviation is brutal. In the end, there's only one thing that changes reputations: performance. The aircraft needed to prove itself. Not in presentations, not in simulations, not in carefully edited promotional videos, in reality. And slowly, signs started appearing. Operational deployments, weapons integrations, pilot confidence, combat readiness. Then came the moment analysts couldn't ignore anymore. Because the aircraft wasn't behaving like a symbolic project, it was behaving like a serious military platform. And that forced critics into an uncomfortable position. They had underestimated the strategy behind it. The goal had never been building the world's most advanced fighter. The goal was to build the world's most practical one. That realization changed how defense planners viewed the entire program. Suddenly, the aircraft started making sense. Not as a rival to top-tier stealth jets, but as a scalable combat system for nations priced out of elite military aviation. And once that market opened, the aircraft's importance expanded rapidly. Why the world started paying attention. Here's what made the situation fascinating. The aircraft existed in a category many experts had overlooked: affordable modern fighters. For years, military aviation conversations focused on extreme sophistication, stealth, sensor fusion, hypersonics, network-centric warfare. But many countries faced a completely different reality. They didn't need the most advanced aircraft on Earth. They needed something they could actually afford to operate. That changed the equation completely, because a fighter sitting inside a hangar due to cost is useless. But a cheaper aircraft flying daily missions? That changes regional power balances. The deeper strategists examined the economics, the more disruptive the aircraft appeared. It represented a different philosophy of warfare, not perfection, availability. And history has shown repeatedly, mass and sustainability can become terrifying advantages, especially in long conflicts. Actually, in the psychological shift, this is where the story becomes bigger than aviation. Because the aircraft triggered something psychological, it challenged assumptions. For decades, advanced military technology flowed in predictable directions, from powerful nations to dependent buyers. But now, newer defense ecosystems were emerging. Countries once treated only as customers were becoming producers. That shift matters, because military technology is influential. Every export deal creates relationships, training systems, maintenance pipelines, political leverage, strategic alignment. So when this aircraft started attracting international attention, analysts realized they weren't just watching a fighter program. They were watching the growth of an entirely different defense network. And once networks form, power follows. The twist nobody expected. But the most surprising part wasn't the aircraft itself. It was what it revealed. The future of air warfare may not belong exclusively to the most expensive machines. That idea terrified some defense experts. Because prestige programs dominate headlines, but affordable systems dominate numbers. And in modern conflict, numbers still matter a lot. The aircraft exposed a dangerous possibility. What happens if smaller nations stop waiting for permission? What happens when advanced military capability becomes widely accessible? What happens when strategic influence becomes cheaper? That's the real story. Not one fighter jet. A shift in the balance. And once shifts like that begin, they rarely reverse. The bigger message today, the aircraft still divides opinion. Some see it as an underdog success story. Others see it as a warning. But almost nobody ignores it anymore. And that alone says something important. Because the most dangerous innovations are often the ones dismissed at first. Not flashy enough, not prestigious enough, not expensive enough, until suddenly, they're everywhere. The fighter that once looked like a compromise became proof that military power was evolving. Quietly, economically, strategically. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. The future isn't always built by whoever spends the most. Sometimes, it's built by whoever adapts first, and by the time the world notices, it's already too late.